Part 5. Time to check traps. John and Jim reached the spot where they had set up their first trap after walking for 45 minutes. The trap was empty. They reached the second trap. It was empty too. Their hopes were dwindling. The third trap was also empty. The fourth trap had blood traces. The trap was broken and the animal had escaped. The two men started to follow the blood traces. John whispered quietly, "I think it got injured while trying to get out of the trap." Jim nodded in agreement. They followed the blood traces, looking for the animal that had escaped from the trap. They were moving in a different direction from their trap line. 35 to 40 meters ahead, a rabbit was stuck in the bushes with the ropes of the broken trap. They caught the rabbit. They cut and cleaned it right there. They returned to their trap line. What they had read in the book had worked. They checked the other traps with the joy of not having empty hands. They found a frozen, stiff squirrel in the ninth trap. On their way back, they made all the traps ready again. Sarah and Lisa were bored to death in the cabin warmed by the fireplace. Sarah started to walk back and forth in the cabin. She looked at the books on the shelf, but none of them interested her. She looked at Lisa, but she was buried in a boring magazine. She looked out the window, but the snowy landscape did not satisfy her either. She wanted to scream for a moment, but she kept quiet. Then she thought, what if Jim and John come back empty-handed? She wanted to erase this question from her mind, but she couldn't. For hours later, John and Jim returned to the cabin. They entered as proud men who had returned from their hunt. They brought the darkness of the evening with them. The girls applauded John and Jimmy. They wouldn't be hungry today, and they would eat lots of meat. While John, Sarah, and Lisa were preparing dinner, Jim was again reviewing the book on trapping techniques. Jim called out to John, "Come over here, I want to show you something." He showed John a page from the book and said, "Look at this." John looked at the page indifferently. Now he was very hungry and couldn't think of anything but eating. "Yeah, another trap," said John. "We can catch animals. Maybe we can hunt deer. What do you say?" "John, let's talk after dinner, Jim," he said. Jim persistently tried to persuade John. "Look, John, this trap is very simple. All you need is a string, a stick, and some bait. If you tie it to a tree and put the bait, when the deer come to eat it, the rope stretches and the stick falls on the deer's neck. So the deer suffocates and we have plenty of meat. We eat." "John, Jim, this is very dangerous. What if the trap doesn't work and the deer attacks us? What if the trap catches another animal? Maybe a bear or a wolf? What are we going to do?" "Jim, then we'll run away. But we have to take our chances. Let's not miss this opportunity." "John, okay Jim, I'll go with you. But let's have dinner first. Sarah and Lisa are waiting for us." "Jim, okay John, let's eat. Maybe tomorrow will be a historic day. Maybe we'll catch our first deer." "John, I hope so, Jim. I hope so." After dinner, Jim and John reviewed the materials to set up a more effective trap. Sarah asked suspiciously, "Do you really think you can catch a bigger animal?" John and Lisa turned their faces to Jim, waiting for the answer to this question with curiosity. Jim answered confidently, "Give me a few days, Sarah. I will bring you a bigger prey. It could be a deer or a wolf. I don't know yet." They all laughed at this. They were in good spirits. Their stomachs were full, the cabin was warm, the traps were ready, and now they were after a bigger prey. As the wind leaked in from under the door, plans were made, promises were given, and they swore for a big hunt. These 4 people from completely different worlds seemed like the last 4 people left on Earth. They had no news from the outside world, nor did they meet other people. This cabin and forest had become their home and work for days. Being alone in nature was better for them every day than being alone in crowds. Everyone went to bed without knowing what tomorrow would bring. Now there was the sound of the fireplace inside and the wind outside.